Bro, ça tue, ça blesse, ça flingue. Hey.
Welcome back to the B&Me podcast, the best sports podcast in New Jersey. We have on none other than the plug, aka Chris Lindsey Hoops is in the building, and I call him the plug because if you in that LA area, Inglewood, Compton, Crenshaw, this the man you need to hit up. How you doing today?
What's the deal, bro? What's the deal? What's going on, everybody? I'm glad to be back on again.
We always love to have you on, my brother, and we're gonna start there, right? All-Star Weekend. It's a lot to unpack with that, especially being that you're from the area. I want to get your thoughts on how you feel your city hosted. But just starting off, how did you feel the weekend went for you? Some of the activations. I saw you ran into Byrie and the crew. How was that for you?
No, man, it was cool. Shout out to everybody that was, had their hands in that. You know what I mean? I appreciate it. Shout out to Easy and everybody there at Anta. Always appreciate that. People looking out different opportunities, but yeah, it was busy, bro. It was a lot of things going on in the city. There's stuff in one city, one in another portion of the city. It was just a lot in general. It kind of gave me like an insight on how players feel sometimes. Like, the last thing you want to do after going from place to place, sitting in traffic all day is go hoop. So, and you're saying yes to a lot of people early on, and then you realize you can't make it to half the stuff because then everything is starting at the same time. Then the start time for the events on Saturday and Sunday was 2 p.m. So that was something that was new. So traffic, and you had to plan accordingly. But overall, the weekend was a success. I feel like I got to accomplish what I set out to do. And then some. I got to see y'all. So that was one thing that I really appreciated. Y'all came out, to the city, got to get some love and see you guys, got to kick it a little bit. So that was a lot of fun. But yeah, I say 10 out of 10. I was tired. I'm still recovering, man. Like I told Griff, I'm still in low power mode. You know what I mean? I'm still trying to recover and get right. So, I'm older now. So yeah, I gotta take my time and deal with this stuff. But other than that, man, it was solid. I had a great time, bro. I had a great time.
What was your favorite activation that you went to? Because I know you went to a couple of them.
Oh man, favorite. It was so many of them. Obviously, the Anta, that one was great. I really had a good time getting to meet Kyrie, one of my favorite players in the league, someone who, is a master of his game. He's another Kobe guy. I got to see Klay Thompson. Got to see him, Phil Handy, a couple guys there in there, Tony Allen, just different guys that were there. That was a really cool to get to kind of meet them, talk to them, and have a little conversation with them. But, essentially kind of wanted to leave them alone because, I know they had a bunch of people all around them. But it was cool to get to talk to them. And obviously the Creator Cup court, the Creator Court was something I really liked that we were able to do with threads. So I got to see a lot of familiar faces there. And that was a lot of fun because, the idea that was presented to me and we were able to kind of put it together and, kind of see it kind of play out. We had a lot of support. So shout out to all the winners of the skills challenge, 3-point contest, and also the game of knockout. So that was cool to kind of see an idea come out and play fully, with the support of threads. So that was a great thing. Even going to the game, the Rising Stars game, that was a lot of fun too. Got to be in there with some of the people from Meta, some familiar faces, and kind of got to talk to them a little bit and enjoy some time there. But like I said, everybody, I had a good time regardless. Even though how tired I was, I was still able to lock in and see a lot of things.
Facts. I'm gonna give it a 10 out of 10 for me too. It was my first one, so I got no complaints. They don't owe me nothing. I know a lot of people was asking me like, what's next? And, has everything changed? First off, stop asking creators what's next. Like, stop asking creators what's next. I just got back from All-Star Weekend. I don't know what's next. I control what I can control. I did the best that I was supposed to do. The NBA liked it. I did some good interviews, knocked it out. No complaints on my end. That's what it is. I controlled what I could control. Stop asking people what's next immediately after they done created something. You just watched the season. You just binge watched 8 episodes and it's like, all right, when the next season out? Calm down. Take a breath. Relax. And no, my life didn't change off of the one opportunity. Some people that happens for. Others, we got to keep going back to work. So no, I came back to Jersey. I got some new followers on the page, but life kept going on. I'm not a billionaire now. I'm not working with Kyrie and I'm in his inner circle or something like that. None of that happened. Great opportunity. We'll see what comes from it from here. You never know. It could pay off months from now, years from now, whatever. But I did, as Kobe talked about, carpe diem. I seized the day, made the most of the opportunity. And that's it. Let creatives breathe. I saw all over threads. Exactly. I saw all over threads, Instagram. I saw people putting tweets out. I just want to get your perspective on it because I saw even Ease talked about it too. Easy talked about it as well. LA, Inglewood, hosting, being from the area. How do you feel they did? Because there was a lot of people complaining like, oh, they shouldn't have did it in LA. They should never do it in this area again. The traffic, and I couldn't get to this event. I was only able to go to one event out of the 12. Like, how did you feel with your city hosting it? How they did?
I feel like they did a phenomenal job. You're only going to be able to do what you can with what's there. Being in Inglewood right there off of Century, it is a lot on that actual street because you have the YouTube Theater, you have the Forum, you have Cosm, you have SoFi Stadium, and you have the Intua Dome now, and also other things that are over there. Like believe the NFL studio, NFL Films is over there too, or something like that. So it's a lot of moving parts and traffic. And when you're in any major city, it's always going to be a cluster of people. It's going to be hard to get around. They're going to be taxing on parking. The Ubers is going to be super expensive, car services, whatever. But, we're used to stuff like this because, we get Grammys, Oscars, other award shows, concerts, you name it. This is just a little bit of appetizer for what we're going to have to deal with for the Olympics, which is going to be a billion times crazier. But we're going to see how that goes in a couple years in 2028. But I mean, a lot of times the complaints come from some of the locals who live in the area who have nothing to do with the festivities that are going on, which makes sense, or just trying to get to the neighboring city, taking the same freeways or kind of getting around, but it's only 3 days, right? In the couple days that it takes prior to that. But mostly sometimes it's the transplants who have the most to say because they're trying to get everywhere and not understanding the logistics of how far cities are, including traffic, or at the time that they're trying to move around. That can be a little bit different. And yeah, our public transit system in Southern California and that area is not the best or efficient like it is on the East Coast. But yeah, I mean, it did the best that they could. But I had no complaints. I knew where I was going. I knew what I was doing. So it's a little easier, but I could only imagine how some people who are locals or the transplants or some who are here for the first time could feel. So I feel that.
Hey man, only thing I called you for one of them. I said, is this norm that the Uber is $140? Like I had to call you for that one.
Yeah, for sure.
So I get some people are getting your first time being there, but again, I had somebody that lived there so I could call and reach like, yo, is this the norm? How should I operate with this, that, and the third? For those that don't know, I ended up having to stay over in Santa Monica for 3 hours, hoping that price would go down on the Uber. So it is what it is. Let's get to some of this basketball talk. San Antonio Spurs, man, undefeated in February. We know that you put a thread about that today, and it had some interesting conversations under it, but 12-3 over their last 15 games. They lost today. But with how they've been playing as of late, what's the ceiling you feel for the San Antonio Spurs?
For the Spurs, they're going to be interesting. They're a young group with a nice mix of veteran talent. With Mitch Johnson, they have all the guys. They have all the tools with their guard play, also their forwards. And obviously, Wemby is one of the main reasons as to why. But I wouldn't be mad, like, even if they were to lose necessarily early in the playoffs. And by early, I would say second round, because they're still a young group and a young team. And you still have to go through some things in order to grow to get to the next point. Or they could be fortunate and really just steamroll a lot of players and teams due to their matchup and what they have. So I would say at worst case scenario, they lose in the second round. But even if they get to the conference finals, that'd be something to see too. So I could see kind of both scenarios playing out. And even who knows, potentially the NBA finals. That would be perfect to put Wemby on that stage. Similar to Tim Duncan, I believe he was drafted in 97 and got to the finals in 99 and he won, the finals MVP. So we've seen things like this happen before. But like I said, it could either be second round or conference finals, potentially the finals for them. I think that's what their ceiling could be because they're just unpredictable. You just don't know what you're going to get, but in a good way. But then having a veteran leader like De'Aaron Fox, who has had one deep playoff run, well, not even deep, but just a playoff run with the Sacramento Kings, and obviously Harrison Barnes, his experience that he's had with the Warriors, is going to prove helpful for the young guys. And they all play hard and they all play for one another. So they're going to be interesting to see moving forward.
Yeah. I know a lot of people are already crowning them to be the winners or the favorites in the West, to be able to stop OKC. Like you said, they are still a young team. And then you see games like today playing the Knicks, where maybe the Knicks just are a better matchup for them than some other teams that they've faced throughout this 10-game, 11-game winning streak that they were on. I still think a healthy OKC team, having been there, having already won and know what to do to win, are still the favorites. Even though they ain't really beat them this year, they still should be the favorites because they've done it. They've already been there. They lost, came back, won. So they've gone through the whole, which we've talked about on episodes before. It's a certain maturation process that you have to go through typically, especially for young teams. It's rare that, all right, we in there this year. We going straight to the championship. We gonna win. If they pull it off, they pull it off. But that's not typically how it goes in the NBA. Just being realistic right there. Staying within that Texas area, right? Kevin Durant. We all give, rightfully so, the praises to Bron. We all give love and praises to Steph. But KD, it's yet again another season solid. You know what you get from him. 26, 27 points a night. He's going to give you a couple boards, some couple blocks, couple steals here and there. And if you're in a close game, you know to give it the easy money sniper that's going to be able to win you the game. Over his last 10, 27.4, 51, 40, 88 is his shooting splits with 5 assists, 1.2 steals. It's been heavy KD. It's been KD show. Figure it out. We knew Van Vliet was injured coming into the season. Can KD lift this Rockets team to a finals berth this year, or are they kind of a year out?
I think it depends. So the West is very stacked. I know they're a third seed right now, and they're kind of rolling. And one thing that's going to present a lot of problems is their point guard depth. I know we keep harping on that throughout the year, but it's still going to be a problem for them. And then I think of Kevin Durant's usage rate, because sometimes he's used as their main ball creator from the perimeter to initiate their offense as well. And then you'll see guys turn down shots, or even the defense kind of play in a drop when it's swing, and then Amen has the ball. He won't even shoot it. He'll rather pump fake and kind of get close into the mid-range or the paint in order to get possibly a floater or to find Şengün. So it's going to be a little bit difficult for them to kind of win 3 series just to get to the finals playing at that rate. And even if you do get Fred VanVleet back, what version of him are you going to get? Since he's been out the entirety of the year, you got to think how he's going to be on defense, his conditioning, and things like that. And who knows, maybe he's been practicing with them the whole time, but you can't simulate game time and minutes and reps, especially with a new group. So with the emergence of Reed Shepherd, we've seen a lot, but Ime Udoka is still kind of keeping him on the bench to kind of be a spark for them and kind of going with his starters. But in the playoffs, you're going to have to adjust that. So they're going to be interesting moving forward. But honestly, I think for them, I think they might be able to win a series, but it depends on how they win that first round series. Like if they play a 6 seed and maybe play the Lakers or they play the Suns, how is that going to look? Is it going to be a dominant fashion that they win 4 games, 5 games, or is it going to be a strenuous 6 games, a strenuous 7 games? That's going to do a lot and put that on KD's body, being the age that he is now. So I would say they're going to be like around the second round ish. if they play their cards right.
Now, you mentioned Reed. I've seen a couple Rockets fans talk about Reed Shepherd should be starting or should be getting more minutes. When it comes to close games and closing out games, Reed Shepherd should be a part of the lineups that you have to close out games. Do you think Reed Shepherd should be getting more playing time, despite, I know Ime's biggest concern is the defensive side, but the way that he's able to space the floor, especially like they said in closing out games, you space the floor for Sengun, you space the floor for KD. Should maybe in the playoff time, do you think that Ime should consider a lineup change with Reed to help out the team?
Yeah, that's going to be interesting because what it's going to have to be is time, possession, score, and matchup to see if he's in a flow, to see what's going on while he's out there. So I think it may be a case by case, game by game kind of thing, which for a young player, sometimes not having that consistency or a defined role can make you a little bit more inconsistent. But he's able to find his footing, as you see lately in the last couple of games where he's been able to play some heavy fourth quarter minutes and be a difference maker. You see him getting to the rim. You see him finishing at the rim, playing passing lanes, shooting the ball with confidence, and you see that they're trusting him in those moments. So all that's going to do is build him up. So then if Ime decides to start him, that can be a big confidence booster for him. But even if he keeps him on the bench initially, but has him playing heavy spot minutes and then closing out games, that can only help him as well. And even if he's missing a couple of shots here and there, you can see they have confidence to still keep giving him the ball. Then he's just going to have to use his IQ in order to maybe I got to dish it or come up off of it if it swings to me and I missed the last three. Let's see what else we can find. And the ball's going to find you again. So that's something that Reed will really have to do in order to kind of keep himself on the court and just play consistent defense. No one's saying you have to be a defensive stopper because you have a man already, which can help out to draw those assignments. But teams are going to pick on them and pick and roll. So they're going to have to fight over a lot of screens and just not be a liability out there so he can be playable on offense.
Yeah, most definitely. I'm intrigued to see what they do because what you just mentioned earlier is the Amen Thompson effect. Like, he hasn't taken that step forward offensively, which we talked about before the season when you were on the pod. Like, will he take that next step forward? He hasn't, unfortunately, especially in the aspect of shooting, which is why I can see where fans are saying we want to see Reed more because more shooting means it's less likely that you could double Sengun, that you can double KD, your two stars for Houston. So that'll be intriguing to see. And one of the matches you said they possibly might see currently, if playoffs started today, they will be seeing those Los Angeles Lakers. Now, the Lakers are currently the 6th seed, but they are only a game and a half from being a play-in team. They're 5-5 over their last 10 games. They are scoring 115.7 points per game, but they are allowing 115.6 points per game. Only a 0.1 difference for those LA Lakers. Who do you blame for how they've played so far this season? And is this kind of a season to throw away where they could be a first round exit?
Yeah, for them, the blame is only so much that you can do. I think everyone kind of has to take a bit of the blame pie when it comes to the Lakers. Obviously they're going to keep LeBron. He still plays at a high level. It's still LeBron James, regardless. I know everybody kind of wants him to go, and he's at the tail end. And you had to just understand that knowing the way their roster was made up, they weren't going to be able to be as competitive as a top level team in the West. So I feel like they're exactly where they should be because they don't have the defenders, they don't have the shooting, and they have Luka, obviously, who's phenomenal on offense, and LeBron still contributes at one of the highest levels. But if you notice how their offense runs, a lot of things are done at the end of the shot clock where Luka will have the ball and he's taking a lot of dribbles in that first quarter, and he can score 12 to 15 points in the first quarter, but that gets tiring having to dribble the ball that much just to take a contested three-pointer, or you're trying to get a foul and taking those bumps on your body. Nothing is coming easy. They don't get any paint touches to anyone that drives and collapses the defense, and they can't beat their initial defender because a lot of them are just kind of standing and watching ISO ball. And that's a recipe that's not going to win you many games in the playoffs. So I would say the blame pie is going to have to be shared and divvy up behind everyone. And as of recently, everyone's been calling out Luka for his lack of defense and not getting back, complaining to the refs and things like that. And those things are all true, and he's been like that his entire career, more or less. And I know sometimes we can get, so caught up in the scoring attributes and things like that, which is great, but you still got to play defense. And a lot of the Laker fans out here in the city are getting a little bit agitated, but some are just like, it's patience. It's not that deep, but you'll see by playoff time, what it's going to be.
Yeah. We're going to talk about Luka's time in LA so far because it's different from Dallas. He brought them to the finals, but you put that Lakers jersey on, it's a lot more eyes. So playoff time come, and if he's one of the main contributing factors to a first round exit, oh, Luka, this is not Dallas. You're going to learn very, very quickly what it is to play in a big time market in a historic franchise like the LA Lakers. I want to ask you this, bro, because I'm just thinking about it with Luka, because I hear both sides of it. Some say it's not that serious. Some say he's so great on offense, the defense doesn't matter. Do you feel the standard of greatness has changed? Because when we were growing up, Bron had to play D. Wade, Kobe, Paul Pierce, going back to MJ and Bird. Kobe even 05, 06, 35 points per game. That following year, 06, 07, 31 points per game, right? Both those years, he was all defensive first team. Both years, all defensive first team. Do you think the standard for greatness has changed and we're giving these players a pass for not having to be not only a killer on offense, but you got to be at least serviceable on defense?
Yeah, for sure, bro. I think it's changed a lot. If you look at the landscape of the NBA, obviously offenses and players from top to bottom on a roster are extremely talented, and there's so many different ways that they can score the ball. But defense, a lot of times, just an effort thing. But now it's more of a team initiated where there's not a lot of ISO because everything is driving kick or guys are just settling for threes. So as long as your individual one-on-one defense is top notch, that usually can help you go a further way. But as we see now, we've kind of lowered their standard. So when we do see a player playing both ends of the court, you can say, for example, Jaylen Brown or Anthony Edwards that take pride in defense, you kind of see people like get shocked. And it's like, why are you playing so hard? Like, you got to do this. But a lot of times you have to do both in order to be successful. And it's just about pride and taking that challenge on to feel good to know that I stopped the other team's best player or a player on the opposite end from scoring and impacting the game. And I can still score on them, especially if you find a cross match, because if a bench player or the guy who's third on the roster is guarding you and you're the number one guy, you can take as many shots as you want. So you know that they can't take as many shots. So then you kind of gain the mental edge on them if they want to get their get back. You know what I mean? Then they can mess up their whole offense. So I feel like people are just enamored by offense, and that's what they love, and that's what gets the crowd going and gets everyone. We can get a block here and there, some steals, take a charge. Even Jalen Brunson will take charges, right? Like, he is usually one of the league leaders in that. But then you start thinking about the insurance policies. Teams don't want their star players getting hit or getting hurt, and then they'll sit out on the second of the back-to-back. So it's a lot of different things that kind of are rolled up in that. But yeah, I think the standard of it has changed drastically in the last 10, 20 years.
That's what Jaylen Brown said it best, like the level of stamina it takes to do that. I'm not with none of these players in the offseason. I'm not going to say that I could be an NBA player and do a workout like them. I'm not going to say that. But when you see players like Jaylen Brown, Anthony Edwards, it makes you wonder, outside looking in, are y'all doing everything that y'all need to do to be at tip top optimal shape? Because yes, you have to be in top tier shape to go average 20 to 25. We're not even asking for no 30 piece, 20 to 25, and then still go guard the other team's best perimeter player, because we don't have the Shaqs of the world and stuff like that. We talking about perimeter guys. You have to go Jaylen Brown, average 25. And then that same night, you're going to see Luka, you're going to see Austin Reeves, and you're going to see Bron. And you got to go all of them at some point throughout that game. And maybe, of course, because they're so talented offensively, you don't stop them, but you at least make it difficult for them. I'm sorry. As a Lakers fan, I've been saying it since Luka came here. And I'm like, hey, what do you mean he gets a pass for not playing defense? I'm confused how we grew up, and even when we were playing, our coaches would not play us. High school, collegiate, middle school, if you weren't playing on the defensive end. Now it just seems like if you're the best offensive player on the team, hey, let's build around him. He gets up. He doesn't have the. I hear this all the time. That's a lot of energy exerted for him to go drop 30 and then have to play defense. What? Ain't that your job? But again, this is outside looking in. If any NBA players see this, I've never done it at that level. I know y'all get offended when people that have never played professionally say anything. So I apologize if you see this. I haven't played. Outside looking in. You mentioned you're hearing it from the people in the city. I'm a Lakers fan in Jersey. I don't know what the pulse of the city is. What do you feel Luka's time has been so far in LA? If you had to give it a grade, the Luka experience has been what in your eyes?
If I had to give it a grade for Luka being in LA so far, I would say a C plus. It's been about average, kind of how I thought. I think we'll be able to see the fullness of what he's able to bring to the team once LeBron retires, because then the team actually can be his fully. But the thing is, kind of how we just mentioned, he's got to commit to the defensive end. And if he's this long in his career and they're still bringing up the same issues, then that's a problem that's more internal. Now, he's been able to debunk the body issues and the things of his injuries in that regard. But then it also has to turn into defense and also getting back to that, not complaining so much and actually using your teammates. So once they're able to build a more competent roster that's tailored toward his skill set, then I think you'll see the full potential of this roster. But as long as LeBron is right there now, it's going to be a little bit different.
I was going to say a C plus 2, not actually being in the city, but it's been average. And the only hope I see is that, hey, like you said, let's see what could be built once Bron retires or goes to a different team. Because Dallas, that was literally built, centered, focused around Luka's strengths and weaknesses. My concern, though, is there's been reports that Mr. Walter is going to allow Pelinka to stay one more season. That is where I don't trust it. If Pelinka is making decisions, that's the question mark I have more than anything. Because, yes, I know he's trying to save money for 2027, but you could have done a little bit better with this roster construction this season. Some other moves could have been made. If we look at your entire track record, Dwight Howard should have never left after we won that title. JaVale McGee, you should have brought them back. Let's run it back. KCP, run it back after the bubble. You switched up, respectfully, you bring in Marc Gasol. And nah, man. So Rob being in the decision-making seat, that's still my question marks right there. Staying in the West, though. Some of the top teams, we're not going to go through every single team because every single team aren't really contenders. We're going to go through some of the teams that actually have an opportunity. If everything goes their way, health, that could win Western and the Eastern Conference. Their X factors and their liabilities. For OKC, who's their X factor and what's the liability for this team that might prevent them from repeating?
Their X factor is going to be how everybody can gel together. They got a lot stronger in the offseason, another season under their belt, contending, working hard. So that's an X factor. And then you see the growth of their bench depth. And then adding Jared McCain is perfect for them to kind of take on some of those point guard duties. And he could score, he could table set for a lot of guys and play initiate for some of his teammates when Shea sits down, and those non-Shea minutes, that's going to be key. Some of their liabilities, just like in any other case, is going to be health. What version of Jalen Williams are we going to get? When you play that deep into the playoffs and every team is gunning for you, you saw how hard they started the season, and you see how I kind of cooled off a little bit after that. It's hard to win in this league at a high level for so long throughout the year. And if you're chasing a record in a regular season, as we saw in the 2016 Warriors, it could kind of gas you out because you're just overdoing it, trying to chase something that just to say that you got it, which is always great to break a record. But you see they were able to settle in, teams were able to catch up, and then injuries start to pile on. When you're playing that deep into the playoffs, year in, year out, it's a little bit harder to put that together. So that would be one of their liabilities, I would think, would just be their health.
Completely agree on that one. It's really a situation when it comes to OKC is like when those top teams were in position to repeat, it was more times than not beating yourself. If y'all do what y'all supposed to do, most nights y'all gonna win the game. If OKC plays OKC style basketball, most nights they're going to win. Most series they are going to win. And like you said, J-Dub, what version of J-Dub do they see? Because he's been in and out the lineup. Can he get back to similar level? Maybe not to the same level, but similar level because, like you said, with a Jared McCain, with the other pieces, AJ Mitchell showing up, balling out this year, they have other pieces that could pick up some of the slack if J-Dub isn't fully back to who we saw last year. But I still think, like we talked about, definitely still in the driver's seat. Those San Antonio Spurs, X factor, liability.
X factor for them is going to be, again, how can their young guards translate into big high stakes moments, right? What are you going to get from Dylan Harper, Steph Castle, guys like that who haven't been able to be in the league obviously this long? But what's it going to be or look like if it's, let's just say, a scenario 3-2 series, you're on the road and you need to close out and you commit that foul or you miss that three or you blow that assignment or you don't get the call? How is that going to translate? Or if Wemby doesn't have it going because defenses are so focused on him, if it's swing, can you knock that shot down? So since they haven't had many reps in times like that, that's going to be a thing. That's an X factor. Obviously, having Wemby is the ultimate X factor more than anything. But then I do like them having De'Aaron Fox. I do like them having Harrison Barnes, like I mentioned. And then Keldon Johnson does all the dirty work for them. I know they lost Jeremy Sohan, but he's over there in New York. But that's going to be one of the key. And then I kind of mix that in with the liabilities a bit with their X factor. It's just their youth and inexperience. It's just going to be something that's just going to have to be shown. But this is the time that you make the best use of your time while you're out there.
Now, we already pretty much covered the Houston Rockets, talked about that and being that it's so KD centric and other players needing to step up. How about those Denver Nuggets?
Again, for the Nuggets, it's going to be what version of Jamal Murray are you going to get? Obviously, if they were able to play the Lakers every single round, you would get the Michael Jordan version of Jamal Murray more oftentimes than not. But I kind of was talking about that on Threads earlier. As you see them playing the Minnesota Timberwolves, he looks really tired. His hands are always on his knees. He's always tugging at his shorts. He sometimes kind of looks like he cannot be as aggressive and he may not be as efficient that he needs to be. But that's going to be key also for them too. Aaron Gordon, you see he does so much for them. And I like the roster that they were able to put together. I know earlier in the season, they were one of my favorites in the offseason for what they added. And obviously you can't account for injury. And they've had key guys missing. Cam Johnson, Choker has missed time. And you add in Aaron Gordon. So that's going to be a problem for them moving forward. But just the usage rate of Joker, how hard it is. They're not getting into their sets until there's about 10 or sometimes 12 seconds left on the shot clock. And sure, he's skilled enough to get the shot off, but then it's still just not a good diet of that throughout the prolonged part of the playoffs. That's going to be tough. And ever since they won their championship a couple seasons ago, it's been a little bit difficult for them with virtually the same roster, not to mention them having a first-time head coach fully for the head coach. You know what I mean? Because I know he did interim last year, Coach Adelman. So that's going to be something that's going to be a level of concern for them.
Most definitely. I think we're seeing the Nuggets. Hopefully, they make some changes, and there's been some injuries, but with the injuries, it's kind of showing there's some holes in the roster in regards of it has to be Jokic or nothing. And as great as Jokic is, it can't be Jokic or nothing. So, like you said, X Factor, Jamal Murray, we need you to show up the all-star level that we saw this year. You made your first all-star. They're going to need that. They have one of arguably the best player in the league. We need somebody else. You could have the best player. We saw it with Bron. 10 straight finals trips. You need some surrounding pieces that's going to help actually get the job done when it comes to it. The Minnesota Timberwolves, who, like you said, they got that win today against the Nuggets, and I think they're one of the scarier teams in the West. What are their X factors and liabilities?
Let's see, man. Yeah, that's one of my dark horses. I know we're going to get into that later, but that's just one that comes off the top of my head that I really like what they got going on over there. Back-to-back conference finals. Usually, if you're knocking on the door, usually you're able to get in right after. For them to even consistently still be this good with with how Anthony Edwards is and how he's transitioning to be a megastar in this league, for them having Cat as one of their second best players to get to the conference finals, and you flip him and get to Julius and you get the same result. So you're like right there. And they're a hard matchup. I love them adding Io. It's great for them. You've seen Bones Highland make a leap this year after everyone was a little bit unsure of their point guard issues that they were going to have. And then you also have White Dante, who leads the league in net efficiency. I guess that's a stat, but I guess he's just not a negative when he's on the court. He plays both ends, gets to the rim. He could shoot the lights out, doesn't commit bad fouls. So he's always a positive up there. And usually around March time, as we saw a couple years ago when they won a national championship at Villanova, he was able to take over. So usually around playoff time is when he starts to activate like he's a winter soldier. You know what I'm saying? So it's going to be interesting to see how they do that. And then liability-wise, Ant shot selection is going to be something after we saw what happened with the Clippers. I know that's just a one-off, but, sometimes you want your best player to be that brash, to be confident like that, to take the shot, but to do it at the right flow. It doesn't look like he ever gets tired out there, and he plays on both ends of the court like we just mentioned. So it's going to be something that's just going to be for that. I do want to see what version of Julius Randle shows up. That's just going to be one. He's going to have to be, one, efficient, and he's going to have to commit fully on defense and not turn over the ball. And then obviously Jaden is already does what he does every single time. There's no lack of confidence in him. So that would just be their liabilities. Also, Naz Reid, a great positive, as we saw. Shout out to the Jelly fam, what he's able to do. He's always going to be consistent. So I would say just Julius Randle and a bit of Rudy Gobert, but he does great what he needs to do for Rudy.
Yeah, facts. Definitely, like you said, that's one of my dark horse teams. Switching over to the Eastern Conference, it ain't as many teams that really can make some noise in the East. So we're going to go through just the top four right now. And we'll talk, like you said, we'll talk about the dark horses. Detroit Pistons.
For them, I would say their youth and experience. Lower seed last year. Now you're coming into some success this year. If they kept the same core group, with Stewie, with Cade Cunningham, and also Jalen Duren. So you see how their hard work of them losing so many games together, you see it starting to play out in a positive for them, which is what we like to see in the league, right? You keep the core together, you could build up and start winning some games, but their youth inexperience is going to be something that's going to come up. Their lack of point guard play when Cade goes and sits down, who's going to be the play initiator, who's going to get guys going. The spacing can be a little bit of an issue sometimes. I know Cade isn't as efficient when he has to get to that second level of the court, like between the free throw line and like mid range. It's not his most efficient shot, especially on floaters for the amount that he takes. Or if he has a guy in jail right behind him, that can be something that's not as efficient. So a lot of teams are probably going to try to turn him into a jump shooter just to kind of get his legs tired down. Again, he plays defense as well. He's a great weak side help defender, whether he's stealing, coming off the edge to get a block. Even he's not a liability out there. He can guard his yard. He moves his feet. So even if teams try to single him out and attack him, he's still a big guard, tall and athletic as he is. So if he starts falling in love with his jumper, that can be problematic for the Pistons moving forward, and it plays right into the defense's hand. But then the way that they're able to execute from top to bottom is something that's really good. If they got their shooters going and they're getting paint touches that are leading to open shots, Tobias Harris can give you a nice smooth 15 to 17 points a game. And depending on how efficient that is, even though he's one of the older guys, also their emotional makeup, playoffs are emotional. We don't want to get any technical fouls. If teams already see that they can kind of push you a little bit, they can send that into the bench guy in there to do something to Beef Stew, right? Or to do something to Jalen Durant, or to kind of get them bullied a little bit to knock them off their game. I know they take on that Detroit bad boy persona and they've lived up to it, but it has to work within the right frame of the game, right? That's what they were able to do back then when they got that moniker, even the 04 Pistons, you know what I mean? They were able to really lock in because it has to be done at the right time, the controlled rage. You could play fierce, you could play ferocious, but it has to be controlled, because the last thing you want to do is something that you did in game 3 that cost you, end up cost you some time in game 6. You know what I mean? And then there's no excuse for it, because the playoffs, your margin of error is very small.
Man, the Pistons, that's the biggest thing I think with them is like, you said it perfectly, controlled rage. This is not the bad boy Pistons era where they can get away with what Stewie does of coming off the bench and swinging. In today's game, that's a suspension. And we saw, like you said, last year in the playoff, maybe it's different if Stewie is fully healthy, plays that Knicks series. Maybe it's different going into this year playoffs. They're fully healthy, no suspensions. It could be a deep run. But from what we've seen this season, even that Spurs game, I can see they're going to at some point cross that line. And that might hurt them in the long run. And they might have to then look in the offseason like, all right, how can we play tough, play physical without getting suspended and flagrant 2 and all of this nonsense, which doesn't help in the long run. 80s, 70s, y'all probably would have won 3 chips playing this way. Y'all can't do that now. It can't happen now. And I think they're good enough where they don't have to do that. They don't have to resort to that. But we'll see what happens. We got 2 more in the East. Celtics. They've exceeded expectations this year.
Yeah, they have. That's one of my dark horses. It's weird to call them a dark horse because of how good they are. I don't think a lot of people didn't expect it. But liabilities for them, probably just, I guess it could be a talent thing moving forward, right? As the playoffs increase, how much are you going to have to use Jaylen Brown in round 1, round 2, round 3, and eventually to the finals? But the way that they play with how the guys that they have on their team, it may not be that much cause of a concern. Even throughout their tenure, not having Jason Tatum is going to be something that's going to be tough for them to overcome. More than likely, it looks like he's going to be sitting out the rest of this year, so he can come back the next year. So for them, they kind of get a pass, I feel, from everybody, where it's not going to be too much pressure on them. You love what Jaylen Brown's doing, and again, he commits to both ends of the court. He's their leader, and they added Vucevic, which is a great pickup, and they're a dangerous team no matter what, because they just know how to win. They're well coached. They have balance from top to bottom, but it could be just a talent thing if you go against a team who is firing on all cylinders, and then you're going to need who's going to be the second leading scorer behind Jaylen Brown if he's having a bad game. We've seen Peyton do it, but how much can you really rely on him for that? Not to discount that he can. So then their X factors, kind of mentioned that, just alluded to that a second ago. Their experience, the way they're coached, how their leadership is, how they're able to get on teams, their shooting ability, all those things are excellent that you need in order to be a top team and make a playoff run. So it's going to be interesting to see moving forward how the Celtics are able to manage that. But I have no worries about it. Even though I got on the Laker shirt, don't let that fool you. It's the only one I had left.
Rush is going to see this and be like, undercover Lakers fan.
Undercover, man. Undercover brother, bro.
How about those New York Knicks?
Again, with the Knicks, we saw it today. Their thing is I want to see what their consistency is going to be. What are you going to get from game 5 that's going to be different in game 1, right? Are you going to get that same team? Or are there bench guys, the guys that they have on the outside of the margins, not named Cat or Jalen, going to be able to play hard? Mikal, OG, Josh, uh, Alvarado, Sohan. I know Jordan Clarkson, he's been kind of in and out a little bit, and they've added like some other pieces that have been good, but they have duplication of the same type of guy from top to bottom, which is great. High energy, high motor, dudes who are going to be emotionally involved in the game. My thing is, their playoff runs have all been kind of close, but they don't have to run into the Pacers. So maybe this may be a little bit better for them moving forward, not having to deal with them, because it's just something about the Pacers and the Knicks that's always a good thing. So if they really want to get to it, you need efficient nights from Jalen Brunson consistently. Same with Cat, not being in foul trouble, hitting his shots, and the guys can stay emotionally connected, because I know sometimes you can get in the garden, the crowd is going, and everybody, you got Fat Joe sitting there, you got Larry David, you got Tracy Morgan, you got everybody just sitting there agitated, getting ready. They bringing back the old school Knicks, Tim Thomas and JR is there, Starberry, Mello. It's always a great thing when the Knicks are playing at a high level in New York, but they're only great when they're winning and everybody doesn't act like the sky is falling. So that's one thing. They feel the pressure. They know they have an opportunity, so they're just going to have to lock in and really seize that and just be efficient, take care of the ball, no complaining to the refs, and just stick with it. And we can see what they do, especially with Mike Brown at the helm.
Hey, Knicks handle business like they handle business today. It's going to be bonkers. I might have to for like 2 weeks have to just come to LA just to get away from it, because it's going to be it's going to be bananas. The entire tri-state area is going to go bananas if the Knicks win the chip this year and beat a OKC or a San Antonio Spurs. Bruh, forget it. It's going to be an absolute zoo, and I don't want to be a part of it.
They might see you on Side Talk New York, bro.
Hey, in the East, because we kind of already alluded in the West, who we were talking about. People have been mentioning the Cavs and the 76ers as dark horse teams, especially with the Cavs getting James Harden, and they've been playing well as of late with Harden. Even the game against the Pistons, Harden and Mitchell did not play, and they took the Pistons to overtime, which I think that was more of a win, moral victory, I should say, for the Cavs, and that was more concerning for the Pistons, which we kind of alluded, that heliocentric offense, whereas Cade Cunningham has to do everything. Facilitate, go score, set the table. All of that is on his shoulders. Between Cavs, 76ers, or maybe another team in the East, who do you feel are the best legitimate cases to be a dark horse to make a run this playoffs?
Well, if I'm thinking of the 76ers, I'm thinking about Joel Embiid, who's still a top-level talent in the league, and his usage rate isn't as high, but he's still able to be effective and impact the game. He could turn around and have a 38 and 15 game, and he'll look phenomenal. So he's one of the key reasons how consistent, how his body's going to hold up. He hasn't been beat up as much in this regular season, and they've been kind of flying under the radar. And then I think of Tyrese Maxey, what his play is going to be like. He's the one that's emerged as a star for them, along with VJ, which is essentially kind of why they had J-Mac kind of shipped out, because they didn't expect VJ to kind of take off the way that he did. And then you still got Paul George coming back. I know he's been suspended. He should be back hopefully in the next couple of weeks or so for the 25 games. So you got to think how he's going to be moving forward. And I mean, Paul George is still extremely talented. He doesn't get used the way how it was. There's no pressure on him in some instances. I know he's missed a lot of time due to injury, trying to get back. And he was playing. He was doing pretty good, and he kind of found a flow. And then now he got suspended. So when he comes back with a couple games left in the season, they can ramp up and kind of keep that core part together. But yeah, those are the key things that I see for the Sixers. And if I'm thinking of the Cavs, mid-season trades, I'm not really a big fan of that magnitude, as I've alluded to multiple times, just because the reps and the time that it takes to really gel and find some cohesion. So even if I'm the Cavs, even their injuries are something else that's to keep in mind. You know, Donovan Mitchell, I think, is dealing with a strained groin. I know James had played, even though you hurt his hand. And you got to think, even though it's on his opposite hand, what is that still going to do in the playoffs? And we know in the playoffs the type of performer that he is at times. So we want to see how he can be in a wide open East with less expectations on them. And then you want to see the emergence of Evan Mobley. I want to see if he could take his game to another level. Jared Allen is going to feast a lot because he can just catch those lobs. He can rim run. He can block shots, start the fast break, and just have Harden orchestrate that. The keys for them are going to be Keon Ellis and Dennis Schroeder. Those two guys are going to be super key for them moving forward to see how they're going to be able in those non-Harden minutes, the non-Donovan Mitchell minutes, how they can keep this team afloat. If you're down 5 or you're up 10, can we keep it going? But they play with high energy, offense, defense, and they get the job done. So those are like the keys that I see for the Cavs and the Sixers. But I would give the nod more to Philadelphia.
I like Philly for everything that you just mentioned. And I think it was with you, and I know we talked about it. I picked Philly to win last year, so I'm not going to make any picks, but Philly definitely intrigues me for all of those reasons and the fact that they don't need Embiid to go drop 30 or 35 every single night. Tyrese Maxey is doing a darn good job leading that team. And as much as James Harden as well would not love to give any credit to Daryl Morey and has called him a liar in a different country, he actually built a pretty solid team. I think the trade of McCain, you should have got more, and you try to spin it saying that you sold high, but Jared McCain was balling last year, had some injuries. I personally would have kept it just to have more depth, just to have another option, especially being that you're a team that deals with injuries, especially being that Paul George is suspended for 25 games. Hey, when he's working himself back up, we got McCain and Edgecombe off the bench. I like that. Yeah, keep that in the rotation, but that's just me. That's Tone being NBA 2K GM. I'm not an actual GM. We've seen a lot of talent throughout this league. I was just looking the other day at the top players under 20, not the top, just the list of players that's under 25. It's so much talent from the Ace Baileys, who's 19, to Anthony Edwards and Cade Cunningham, who's 24, on that cusp of going past the 25 and having a conversation. We're talking about a couple of years, them hitting their prime. Whole lot of talent. And two players that have balled out this year. One started off slow. The other's he hit it straight out the gate. Concanipple, Cooper Flag. Do you think possibly that this year we'll see a co-rookie of the year? Now, it's happened 3 times. 1970-71, Dave Cowens for the Celtics and Jeff Petrie for the Blazers. The other 2 happened in the 90s. By any chance, do you know those other players that had to get co-rookie of the year?
I know Grant Hill and Jason Kidd were one of them.
Yes, right? Sir. That's 94-95.
Yeah. Okay, all right. 94-95. The other one, that one I don't know. I don't know what the other one is. I think you stumped me on that. 99-2000. That was Elton Brand for the Bulls and Steve Francis for those Rockets. That was the last season that we ever saw that happen. And in the 94-95 season, those two are the first time ever that we saw the exact same. They got the same exact votes. But on this year, 2025-26 season, they both have been playing well. I think either could win it this year. Do you think we see a co-rookie of the year return in 2025-2026? You know what? I don't think so, man. I think a lot of the league this time around is what have you done for me lately? We haven't seen Cooper do anything in a while, which doesn't erase all the hard work and highlights and high-level play that he's put in before he got hurt. But Concanipple has been pretty consistent. Like you say, he did start kind of slow, but he's able to ramp it up, and he's become a top level 3-point shooter in this league, and essentially has turned around the Charlotte Hornets, him and the other guys that are there on that roster. So if I had to pick today, I would say Knippel would be the guy.
I like Knippel for that pick. And I want to ask this, right? Because we've talked about, you've been on this show for what, the last 2 years or so? 3 years? Something like that?
Yeah.
We've talked about LaMelo. Is this the way Con has been playing? Is this their exit strategy to get away from LaMelo having Con there?
You know, that's interesting. I haven't thought about that just yet, but he's still a talented player. I think what you want to do is keep as much talent as you can on your roster. He's got to keep him off the road, man. He's going crazy right now. He's driving like his Mario Kart. You know what I mean? He got to chill out. He got to, I know giving Californians a bad rep when driving, doing all that speeding in Charlotte. You know what I mean? So if everybody in the Charlotte area, if you see a Hummer that's camouflage or a Lamb truck that's red, and just know that's LaMelo, just wait. Just take a break. Let him go through. You know what I mean? Because he flying through places, man. So you got to chill out. That's playing Need for Speed Underground 2 a little bit too much, man. That's what he on. But all seriousness, though, I think that they're gonna keep him and just kind of build from there and kind of go and see what they could add until how they finish the season strong and lead it into summer league with another league season under their belt. We're gonna see how they could be moving forward. So I say you keep him.
Yeah, especially when you talk about Charlotte, you don't get people choosing to come to Charlotte too often in free agency. It's hard to get people traded over there that, hey, I got a trade clause. Charlotte's not on my list. Do not send me there. So keep as much talent as you can possible. And like you said, in all seriousness, having a talk with him of the maturity aspect, which is what we've talked about. Like, we need you to be a superstar off the court. Like, we can't afford, thankfully it wasn't nothing too serious, but what if, like, somebody really needs to have that conversation? What if that accident turned out somebody ended up in the hospital, somebody, God forbid, did not live? Yo, it's done. It's complete. It's over. Forget Charlotte Hornets basketball, anything. You will be a multi-time perennial all-star in the jail league. We need you to truly grasp. We need you here. Don't do no nonsense outside of this arena. Please don't. Looking at, like I said, the under 25 is crazy. And then this draft class coming up is considered one of the best draft classes that we've had in recent years. I don't know if we'll go to the extent, because we have to see it play out first. I don't know if we'll go to the extent of one of the best draft classes of all time, like the 96 draft and things of that nature. We'll let it play out. Even the draft class that just came in with Khan and the crew and Cooper Flag, they look good so far. Let's let it play out. But all the projections and such says this is a really good draft class coming up. It's a lot of options, man. That lottery, you might not get the top pick, but being in the lottery, you might get a very good piece on your team. If you get that first pick, though, if you're GM, Chris Lindsey, the GM, who would you take number one overall of these players coming in?
That's gonna be hard, man. Like it's a tie for me between Darren, AJ, and Cam. So it's kind of like, depending on what roster I have and who I have on my team currently or what our trajectory is, you can't go wrong with either one. I know odds have Darren as the top guy, which is phenomenal, which is great. But if for me, I'll probably have to go with AJ. I would go with AJ for sure.
AJ that's a bucket, bro. AJ is really, really good. I think this is one of those situations where, kind of like the draft, I forget what year it is, but the draft where you have Melo, D Wade, Bron in the same draft, you get one of those. You get one of those. You all right. You happy. You get. That's what I feel with this draft. Like Darren Peterson, AJ, and Cam. It's not like it's light years in between. Like, oh my gosh, AJ is so far above Darren Peterson, or vice versa, or Cam is really a second tier player. You get one of those three, and like I said, there's some very good ancillary pieces that's around here so far. And like you said, yeah, Darren Peterson, Curry, I'm looking at it right now, is the top team, the top projected player to get drafted right now. So definitely it'd be interesting to see when we get more of the teams actually fleshed out later in the season, playoff time, we see the draft order. Of course, we'll have you back on. We'll see, like, all right, which of these teams are the best fit for these said players. But in the same vein of the young players, one that came back this year, Elijah Arenas, he dealt with some injury coming into the season. He's just been playing recently. He already, Bleach Report on February 25th, their mock draft, they have him as a first round pick at the end of the first round. Player comps to like Jalen Green because of his offensive versatility, his creativity. He has enough upside for a team to take a chance in that first round. Meta World Peace has gone to the extent of saying he's the next Kobe. I can see him getting an MVP in the next 5, 6, 7 years. What do you see so far from what we've seen from Elijah Arenas? And do you think he even should leave this year? I know Gilbert has expressed that's the plan and what they wanted before, obviously, the injuries happened. What do you think, and what have you seen from his game so far coming back from that injury?
Yeah, man. First of all, shout out to Elijah for being healthy and being able to get back to the court and doing what he loves. That's first and foremost. He works extremely hard. He's a great kid. And obviously his talent is there. You can see it clearly. You can see the way he trains, how he prepares, what his mental approach is for things. He doesn't let things get in his way. Obviously, one thing he can help be better at, just from the outside looking in, is just, dribbling, less dribbling, sometimes a little bit more efficiency with the ball, you know what I mean? And then kind of seeing what is it that he's actually going to do. Is it there to score, or is it there to create? But when you're good at both, it can be kind of hard when you're that young to figure out which one you want to do at the highest level, depending on, what team that you're on. The team makeup and roster construction goes a long way with that. And he's going to get stronger, all things considered. That's one thing you got to think he's going to do. But the more time that he has, he's going to bulk up naturally, be able to kind of, and he's so young still. That's just naturally what's going to happen. And then, lastly, I think he should just stay another year, get a full year with his team, kind of build, and he's going to be elite if he's a sophomore and then coming out the next year, because then he'll actually get to showcase his talent a lot more, raise his stock, get that full season of college under his belt, and then you could see how he could be ready for the NBA. But I mean, if they feel like he's ready and that's the lane they want to kind of go at, we kind of saw it similar with Bronny and also with LeBron in some ways, right? He wasn't that ready. He dealt with a little bit of adversity and it's not working out as much, which is no problem. There's less expectations, I feel, on Elijah than there would be on than there was on Bronny. But I think he'll be solid, but I think another year would serve him better than if he were to come out.
I completely agree. Like, selfishly, I would like to see him go back and have a full season. And I'm sure that, Musselman will make sure that the recruiting is set up where they're even better. Because I know one of the key pieces that they have, forget his name, but he's out for the season. So kind of when Elijah came back, it was kind of like he didn't really get a chance to like work himself in. It's like, no, we need you right back, right now, starting major minutes, great straight back into it. So him returning, and especially being selfish as well. Elijah Arenas over there on the men's side and Juju coming back. Oh, it's gonna be jumping. Juju,
you're gonna see me at the Galen Center a lot. Definitely, I'll definitely be at the Galen Center watching those games, bro.
Oh man, that's gonna be some good bump if he comes back. But I do think him and Kyan probably will be some of what we've seen recently, some of the best former NBA players' sons to go pro. I think they really have the ability to be one of the better ones. And I think Kyan as well. I think he probably should return next season. I know it's been a little, I don't know what's going on. It's been some stuff with the coach and Melo said a comment and Kyan don't play the whole next game. I don't know what's going on over there. There's rumors that he might have to go. Yeah, I don't know what's going on over there.
Bryce got to deal with that too. We haven't seen Bryce. He's at Arizona, Wildcat. hasn't got to play that much. So it seems like a couple of these
Yeah.
guys need to get one more year under their belt. Less controversy, kind of work themselves in, being on campus, first time leaving home, just really try to get into that. Some guys, they ready, right? They just take off. Like the three guys that we said, Darren, AJ, and Cam, you could just see it. Like, oh yeah, no, that's it. But you see that there's levels in college, right? Opportunities and everything like that. So I know all these guys are going to do well, but they just got to play their role.
Facts. We're going to end off with two more things, right? Because my man Tyrone asked a question over here on Threads. So with the Cali teams on the struggle bus, has the power paradigm shifted? Because it feels like Midwest and South teams are actually faring a little bit stronger than the coastal teams lately.
Yeah, no, that's a fact. You can see it right now. If you look at the Lakers, they're kind of a mid team. Also, looking at the Warriors, they have been hurt, missing guys in and out of the lineup. And the Sacramento Kings haven't done much, and then the Clippers. So now you're right, Tyrone. That's true. Like it seems like more of the power shifted over there to the Midwest and like the South. So yeah, you got that for sure.
Oh snap! I ain't even peep. I was on mute. That's wild. Gonna have to edit that, Sean.
All good.
Pacquiao Mayweather, man, rematch scheduled to fight September 19th, streaming on Netflix. Money Mayweather will be 49 coming into the fight, 50-0 still, of course, with 27 knockouts. Pacquiao, 47 years old, with 62-8 and 3 record with 39 knockouts. What's your thoughts on them doing this rematch? You know, people have been saying it's a money grab, but I can't see Mayweather needing a money grab. But what's your thoughts on hearing this? And are you going to watch it on Netflix?
Man, I'm tired, man. I'm tired. No more of these. No more. I'm done. It just reminds me of the Terrence Howard clip, the "Do you need some money?" I know they don't need any money. I get that. And sometimes you have the itch to want to come back and kind of, test your skills out. And again, money is money. So if someone's going to give you, you work it out in a contract between you and Pacquiao, everybody wants to see it. You're going to be a big draw. It's on Netflix. That bag going to be real heavy. And for people who have a lot of money, the thing that they always want is more money. So if you're able to get more money in your lifetime, all power to you. I salute you. We all know it's rigged. We all know it's just fun. It's a sparring thing. They're going to get everybody included. Obviously, the real bout was 10 years ago or 11 years ago, more or less. That was when it was actually legit. And even still, there was some controversy that people felt with that. So, yeah, I'm tired, man. No mas. I'm done. Like, no, I probably won't fire that one up. To be honest, I'm good. I'm gonna let the everybody else who didn't watch it 10 years ago. I'm gonna let them have this one.
Yeah, because they both have exhibitions leading up to this. Mayweather is supposed to be doing an exhibition with Tyson this year in the spring.
All right.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, again, nostalgia sells. I'll just say that nostalgia will sell. You get these young Gen Z guys in these rooms who are writing copies and coming up with ideas, and they didn't get to see these things. I probably would do something like that too if I was Gen Z. If Kobe was alive and they did something, and I'd be like, let's get him and Michael Jordan to play horse, and it turns into a big draw. Or let's get Shaq and Kobe to throw a lob to each other. Like, everybody love nostalgia, so they can feel like that. But I'm cool. I'm cool, man. I'm straight.
Yeah, I'm cool off of it too. I ain't turned on Mayweather when he fought one of the Paul brothers. I ain't turned on Tyson fighting one of the Paul. I didn't turn none of them on. Like you said, I'm getting tired of it. The gimmicks and this is why people say the sport of boxing is dying. Not going to go into that conversation whether or not it's dying or not, but we don't see stuff like this in other sports. There's real gimmicky money grab. Just because people are going to tune in doesn't mean that it's something that should be done. Like, it doesn't mean that. But like you said, rich people, what they gonna do? If you put the right number, you heard Shannon Crowder, $100 million. I'll sell my soul.
That's crazy, man. That's all right. You got it, champ.
Won't be no souls sold over here on these parts. Y'all know the vibes that it be in me though. If you stay ready, you ain't gotta get ready. Bitch, we out. Peace.